It's a pretty nice, I think it's fall. November, I would consider fall. At least the weather is not like winter yet. Leaves are still falling, trees are kind of changing color, so in my eyes it's still fall. But going outside for a walk, rare daytime video. I'm taking a break from work. This is just like a lunch break, so nothing too long here, but getting some fresh air. And today at work it's been kind of slow for me. There's not a lot to do for me, so been sort of doing my own thing, yeah. And now that I have some time to walk around and record, I'll do that. I really kind of wanted to talk today about, because there was a recent CS2 update, Counter-Strike 2 update, that basically crashed the market. I haven't been keeping up with it since, but that was like last week, so I haven't been keeping up with it since. And it basically just tanked the value of knives, gloves, the really expensive items. And I had a few of those. Like, I had one knife that was pretty expensive, and then I also had a pair of gloves that I bought relatively cheap, and then it increased to like 2 or 3 times, I think maybe even 4 times it's the value that I bought it for, and then the market crashed. So yeah, I mean, it's disappointing, of course, but I think it was particularly disappointing for me because I had recently got these items, and then Valve, who hardly ever makes any monumental changes, decides to just throw this update out of nowhere and completely deflate the value of these items. Again, though, it's whatever. I mean, they're still worth something. It's not like they're completely worthless. Just not worth as much as I got them for. And then that got me thinking about just the general sort of landscape of Counter-Strike. It's changed a lot, like, since I initially played it. I was a big Counter-Strike player back in, like, what is it? I think it was 2016 is like when I first started playing. And back then the game was very simple. I mean, it still is honestly pretty simple, but I think it's evolved so much since. And at that time, that's when I also first started getting into esports, and I saw, Fnatic, which was kind of on its last legs at that time, because 2015 they were super good, and then 2016 and onwards they didn't really have much else. But then I saw SK Gaming or Luminosity Gaming, like Brazilian scene, rise to the top. Was really into the NA Counter-Strike with Cloud9 and of course Stewie 2K. That's when he made his debut that year. And Skadoodle, of course, like the best opera in North America. He was just a role model in that sense. And so, yeah, I think like at that time it was really fun. But also I didn't really get out there too much because, I mean, I was still in like middle school or high school or something in 2016. So I wish I had involved myself more. But the next year, 2017, I continued to play Counter-Strike, and by that time I had probably accrued like maybe 1,000 hours. I was playing Face It, ESEA. I was originally playing ESEA because all the top people were playing rank S. That was the thing. But then, of course, ESCA had the issue with like the Bitcoin mining and stuff, and how it's basically like pirateware or malware or whatever. And a lot of people began to switch to Faceit. And I never really got too far. I think the highest level I got in Faceit was like level 8, which wasn't crazy, but I did play against there's a lot of trucks and cars passing by. I did play against a few pros. One of them I remember being, what was his name? Sub Rosa. That guy was he was accused of cheating when he initially got onto the scene, and I think a lot of people were still suspicious of him, and then he switched to Valorant eventually, and I don't know how he's doing now. But that's the one of the guys who I guess I played against him, and he owned our team. So, but overall, it was a pretty cool experience. So, I really wanted to try and see if I could become like a professional esports player, but at the same time, my parents and I knew it was just like unrealistic. It was, you never knew how long how long you could sustain it for, and it's just, there's no sort of, how do I say it? Well, I guess I can never get the idea that I would, let me rephrase it. I just felt like I wouldn't be contributing anything personally to the greater society or to the world, right? There's no self accomplishment with that profession. But the one thing that I did idolize about it is that it gave these pro players a lot of opportunities to travel and see the world. Like, you see events I guess back then you saw events in Sweden and Germany and in Istanbul, in America, all over America. And I've always wanted to explore the world more, just see different places, go to different hotels and see the landmarks, and of course meet people from their respective countries and cultures. It's just very cool, and that's the one aspect that I really envy for a lot of these pro players, and I think nowadays as well, because I think it's hard to say that anyone in 2017 was 100% certain about where the scene was going to be in 2025, but nowadays you see these players who have insanely massive contracts and are getting tons of sponsors, doing all this, whatever. It's crazy to think about. I'll take a seat here on the bench. So, yeah, that's kind of where I ended off with Counter-Strike. I mean, after 2018, I began to switch to other games like Rainbow Six Siege, which is what a lot of my friends in high school were playing at the time. I was sort of switching between games just based on whatever everyone else was playing. You know, no one really played Counter-Strike, and it was not fun to just play by myself, so I switched to Rainbow Six Siege, and then eventually during COVID it was Overwatch, and from then on a little bit of Valorant. You know, nowadays I don't really play competitive shooters that much. Occasionally, last year I played a little bit of Overwatch, but you know, Overwatch 2 is just not very. It's not as. I just miss, you know, the 6v6 aspect of Overwatch 1, and I did play a little bit of CS2 this past summer. I was enjoying it. It wasn't anything special per se. It was fun to play though. There was nothing, you know, fundamental has changed to CS2. I think that's the key part that lets me come back to it whenever I want. And I think the only thing that pushes me away is just that I don't feel the urge to commit, I don't know how many hours, like 1-2 hours up to like 4 hours at a time just to sit at my computer and play this game, right? I would rather play Pokemon or try and beat whatever, like other games, explore other games. Um, Yakuza, I still need to play that. RimWorld, I've barely even touched it, right? But that game, I know you can sink a ton of hours in because it's a pretty expansive, like, story building sandbox game, RPG. And so all this stuff is just trying to say that there's so much in this world, in the world of gaming at least, that you kind of don't appreciate if you simply just focus on one game, right? It's good to really engross yourself in one game, right? Really get skilled in it and become one of the best. But at the same time, you lose the aspect of why games are fun, or what's the point of games in the first place, right? And that's because they're fun. And I think my enjoyment nowadays is just playing more games, learning different stories and the gameplay, and I've sort of moved on from the competitive aspect of a lot of these multiplayer games. So, I mean, yeah, that's about it. There's not much else to say about Counter-Strike. I could talk a little bit more about the pro scene, but yeah, at least my experience with Counter-Strike is pretty short-lived, and I regret, spending so much time. I think now I have like 2,000 something hours in Counter-Strike total, and I regret some of that, spending so much time on the game, but it was a worthwhile experience, and I think I've learned from it for sure. Yeah, I'm gonna finish out my walk here. It's a very nice day. It's not too cold. We've been having some cold days recently, so it's a good thing that it's not too cold today. And the sun's out and whatever. Yeah. See if there's anything else, but otherwise, talk to you guys tomorrow.